A disturbing incident has just emerged from inside one of Britain's highest security prisons. Axel Rudakubana, the teenager convicted of murdering 3 young girls in Southport, has reportedly attacked a prison officer with boiling water just days after a public inquiry into his crimes began. The assault appears to have been premeditated, raising serious questions about how someone so dangerous had access to scalding liquid, and what safeguards were in place to protect staff. Here's what we've learned. But first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more. Triple child killer Axel Rudakubana launches boiling water attack on prison officer just days after public inquiry begins. Britain is facing a moral and institutional reckoning, and it just got even uglier. Convicted triple child murderer Axel Rudakubana, just 18 years old, is now being investigated over a violent premeditated assault on a prison officer at HMP Belmarsh. According to multiple reports, Rudakubana threw boiling water through a hatch in his cell door, leaving the officer injured and in hospital. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment scuffle. This was calculated, targeted, and, according to insiders, eerily similar to another vicious prison attack carried out just weeks ago by none other than Hashem Abedi, the brother of the Manchester Arena bomber. Let's pause here. Rudakubana is already serving a 52-year sentence for the brutal murders of 3 young girls at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in Southport. His name, for many, represents a kind of evil most of us struggle to comprehend. And yet somehow, he was given access to boiling water inside one of the UK's highest security prisons. Let that sink in. The attack was reportedly launched without warning. Guards heard screaming. The officer was burned. And now the Metropolitan Police are formally investigating the incident as a serious assault. The question writes itself: how was this even possible? One insider speaking to The Sun called the situation terrifying and shocking in equal measure, and rightly so. They asked what many are now demanding to know. Why on earth did a radicalized murderer with a history of violence have access to scalding liquid? Where was the risk assessment? Where was the basic prison protocol? Because this isn't a one-off. This comes just weeks after Hashem Abedi launched a horrific, unprovoked attack at HMP Frankland, leaving officers with stab wounds and scald burns. Abedi has since been transferred to Belmarsh, but kept isolated from Rudakubana. But clearly that's not enough. Belmarsh, once known as the most secure facility in Britain, is quickly becoming a flashpoint of prison violence, where the country's most dangerous offenders aren't just being contained, they're launching assaults on the very people tasked with keeping them inside. Remember, this attack comes just 2 days after the public inquiry into Rudakubana's mass murder formally began. That inquiry, which has legal powers to demand evidence and testimony, will probe how a known violent offender, still a teenager, was able to kill 3 innocent young girls in broad daylight. Alice Da Silva, Aguiar 9, Bebe King 6, Elsie Stankham 7, all of them murdered in cold blood at a children's dance class on July 29th last year. And now, just days into the long-awaited investigation into what went wrong, Rudakubana strikes again, this time inside one of Britain's most fortified prisons. The Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has said the inquiry will ask difficult questions, but that phrase is beginning to sound like a political placeholder for inaction. Because this is bigger than just one incident. This is a system-wide failure. This also comes at the very same time the 3 officers who stopped Rudakubana are being recognized for their bravery. Sergeant Gregory Gillespie, Constable Luke Holden, and PCSO Timothy Parry rushed into the chaos of that Southport dance class armed only with a baton, a taser, and sheer courage. They confronted a knife-wielding killer on a stairwell while parents fled with bleeding children in their arms. They didn't flinch, they didn't hesitate, they didn't get to opt out like the system that failed to stop him in the first place. These officers are now rightly being honored for their heroism, but their story is now being overshadowed by the shameful reality that Rudakubana is still finding ways to terrorize even from behind bars. So here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. This isn't just about one killer. It's about a justice system that refuses to put the safety of staff and the public first. A justice system that allowed a violent teen to escalate to mass murder. A prison system that gave that same killer access to boiling water. And a political class, particularly under Labour leadership, that seems more interested in rehabilitation theory than real consequences for evil actions. Britain needs answers, but more than that, it needs accountability. And if we don't start demanding it now, the next tragedy may already be brewing inside another cell. In other news, Sadiq Khan will announce a scheme to actively explore concreting over swathes of London's Greenbelt to build tens of thousands of new homes. The Mayor of London, in plans described by Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner as a bold proposal, will push to try and meet a new target of 88,000 homes every year, with protected green spaces set to be concreted over to do so. He is now set to go further than the government's policy of building more on low-quality parts of the Green Belt, the so-called Grey Belt. Those are the same areas around the edge of the capital which have been hit by his rollout of ULAZ, the controversial clean air scheme which slaps motorists in non-compliant vehicles with daily charges. The status quo is wrong, out of date, and simply unsustainable, the mayor will say in a speech on Friday. We have to be honest with Londoners that this alone will not be enough to meet our needs. The perception many people have is that the Green Belt is all beautiful countryside, green and pleasant land, rich with wildlife. The reality is very different. The Green Belt can often be low-quality land, poorly maintained and rarely enjoyed by Londoners. Only around 13% is made up of parks and areas that the public can access. Under his proposals, planners will look to release some Greenbelt land for building, with conditions on affordable housing, energy efficiency, transport links, and promoting access to green spaces. But the plan has drawn fury from inside City Hall. Its Tory chief Susan Hall said, "Once again, Sadiq Khan has shown his true colours by dancing to the tune the Labour government sets. This is a mayor who will sacrifice London's precious green spaces to appease his Labour paymasters. Londoners elected him on a promise to protect our environment, but it's now clear those promises weren't worth the recycled paper they were printed on." A Conservative statement called the plans environmental vandalism, while a Tory source said the mayor's plans were a bid to concrete over swaths of the Green Belt. The Tories have also accused him of U-turning on his own prior comments. Khan had argued in the past against releasing Greenbelt land, while there are still previously developed brownfield sites available. While Andrew Boff, the City Hall Tories planning spokesman, added, "The mayor has repeatedly stood in the London Assembly Chamber and given categorical assurances that he would protect London's Greenbelt. This announcement is a complete betrayal of those promises and shows utter contempt for Londoners who treasure these vital green spaces." When Khan says only 13% of the Green Belt is parks and public areas, he must be asked, is he looking to axe the remaining 87%? Londoners want and need homes that they can afford to live in and which are high quality. The mayor has the land and has had the money to do this. If he wants to stand up and say that London has a housing crisis, he might want to ask himself why he let it get that bad, considering the Conservatives gave him £9 billion to fix it. What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you have not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.